The Crucible station hung in space like the spine of a dead god, silent, massive, and older than any species that now trained within it, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with unnatural regularity. The black metal megastructure housed the finest cadets from every known civilization in the Galactic Concord, 72 species, 72 banners, all here to prepare for the unknown threats beyond charted space. Everything inside moved with mechanical perfection. Cadets marched, drilled, saluted. Even the oxygen vents hissed with mathematical precision. Then something broke the rhythm, a scream of metal, a shuttle crash-landing sideways through a secondary docking ring. Sirens howled, security drones activated. A squad of Vakari soldiers, tall armored, reptilian, rushed in formation toward docking bay 9 Delta, weapons drawn. Inside the smoke-filled shuttle, a figure stumbled out, coughing, human mid-20s, black standard issue duffels slung over one shoulder, burned uniform, one eyebrow missing. He blinked into the harsh starlight of the bay, looked up at the advancing weapons, and said flatly, ... I think I took the wrong exit. No one laughed, except the Thraxis instructor monitoring the security feed. Crystalline body crackled with confused amusement. Commander Liren stood motionless on the upper balcony, black ceremonial armor reflecting the pulse of the dying star outside. Her vertical pupils narrowed. Confirm identity, she ordered. A synthetic voice responded in her neural link. Cadet ID, Knox, Jared. Species, human. Origin, Sol3 assignment. Crucible cause, cohort, 739. She frowned. There is no authorization for Sol3 in cohort 739, correct. Addition, timestamp, 11 hours ago. Override code, Thetal F1. Liren S. claws flexed slightly. Thetal F1 was not a training command code. It was used for only one thing. Contingencies. On deck 12. The cadets watched from their embedded barracks viewers. The humanoid ones leaned closer. The invertebrate ones twitched in their nutrient tanks. Primitive meatbag spat. A Kalkari recruit can't even land right. Why is he here? Another hissed. Earth isn't even concorded. They don't even have quantum culture. One of the Nearia floating species of gas and bioluminescent neurons tilted gently in the air. He's a fluke, it said. Or a message. Another replied. Knox stood before the registration officer, a six-armed Arkan bureaucrat whose every movement clicked with the patience of 1,000 years of protocol. The being looked him up and down, tapping one stylus against its mandibles. You are not on the manifest, yet your orders are authentic. This is irregular. Story of my life, Knox muttered. The officer's eyes narrowed. You will report to Team Alpha Gamma. They do not like surprises. Knox shouldered his bag and gave the room a mock salute. Good, neither do I. As he walked through the cold, echoing corridors toward the lift, the lighting above him flickered. One start in a control tower miles above, a data stream shifted. A line of encrypted code injected itself into the Crucible's memory core. A system AI hesitated, then recompiled. A surveillance node blinked, lost a second of footage, and resumed. The station corrected itself. No one noticed, but Liren watched from her chamber, arms folded, eyes sharp. He's here, she whispered. The chain has started. And far beneath the outer decks, something ancient sealed in crucibles, forbidden levels stirred for the first time in 1,000 years. The drop pod shook like a coffin caught in a storm. Knox gripped the side rail, teeth clenched, as alarms blared and atmospheric readings flashed red. Beside him, 4 cadets sat in eerie silence, each from a different species, each wearing the same contempt on their faces. The Kalkari male closest to him hissed under his breath. We should have left you at the gate, primitive. Knox smirked without looking up. You should have taken a breath, Mint. The pod slammed into the surface of Thros 7 with a bone-rattling impact. The hatch blasted open, and instantly, the air tried to kill them. Acid mist, seismic quakes, gravity surges. Welcome to the trial of unity and infamous live combat. Gauntlet used for one purpose: to force species that hated each other to survive together, or die failing. The landscape was a nightmare, a maze of jagged obsidian cliffs, split by glowing chasms of molten crystal. Above, black clouds twisted into cyclones that hurled electric hail. Beneath the surface, the Ravelers waited, burrowing predators attracted to movement and fear. The team had 10 hours to reach the extraction point. No weapons, no food, no translator links. And Knox didn't wait for instructions. He vaulted over a ledge and scanned the area with his eyes. Alone, no tech. Just gut. He pointed west. Cave system under that ridge. It'll buffer the next gravity wave. The Niari cadet blinked. You didn't even take a sensor reading. I didn't have to. Look at the birds, ... There are no birds. Exactly, so something's scaring them. They ignored him at first. That changed when the first quake hit. The ground heaved like a sea beast turning in its sleep. The Calcary barked an order too late. A Thoraxis cadet was flung into a geyser of superheated gas, screamed gone. Nox dragged the others under a natural basalt arch just as the second quake rolled through. When the dust cleared, they were the only team left standing in Sector 12. Still think I'm a mistake? Nox asked. The Calcary stared at him. You adapted without tech. I improvised. We call it gut instinct. You should try it. Sometime. 3 hours in, the acid mist grew thicker. Their skin burned, even through layered suits. The team was growing slower. One of them, an aquatic species, was near collapse. Limbs drying out. Nox doubled back without hesitation, ripped a cooling gel pack from his uniform, and pressed it to the alien's gills. You pass out. You die. I'm not dragging a corpse through a lava field. Why help me? The creature rasped. I mocked you. Yeah, Nox grunted, lifting him anyway. But I don't leave teammates behind. That's a human thing. As they neared the extraction zone, the Ravelers struck. 6 of them huge, eyeless beasts with sonic pulse maws and diamond-tipped claws erupted from the ground like demon serpents. The team froze. Scattered. Screams echoed across the ridge. Nox did the opposite of what any alien tactician would have done. He ran toward the Ravelers. Hey, dinner's over here, ugly, he yelled, lobbing a heat crystal into a nearby crevice that it exploded, shattering the rock into a rolling landslide that buried half the predators and isolated the rest. When the team reached the evac point, bruised and bloody, the retrieval officer paused. Alpha-Gamma ... Expected 0 survivors. Nox spat blood and grinned. Guess you need to raise your expectations. Later, under the observation dome, instructors reviewed the footage. He showed no fear. One said, he showed no protocol. Another, snapped. Commander Liren said nothing. Her eyes were locked on the final seconds of the recording on Nox standing over a dying Raveler, staring into its open mouth like he was listening. She spoke at last. He didn't survive because he was human. He survived because he's something we haven't classified yet. The chamber was silent, unnervingly so. No instructors, no orientation, just a door that hissed open without a word. Inside, pure darkness. Simulation 7 was not listed on the Crucible training schedule. It didn't appear on the cadet docket. It simply began. The cadets called it the Predator Protocol. Rumor said only 3 had ever passed it. 2 went mad. The 3rd had never been named. Nox stepped through the threshold, and the door vanished behind him. No seams. No light, only his breath, fogging in cold air. Then came the voice. Welcome to your mind, Cadet Nox. We've turned it against you. Sudden light. He stood in a dead city, all ash-gray concrete and broken towers, drenched in rust-colored rain. A low siren pulsed in the distance like a failing heartbeat. Streets were littered with debris, books, toys, helmets. No people. He saw them. Figures with no faces, dressed in a dozen Earth military uniforms. UNSC, World Accord, Old America, EU Defense. They moved in erratic jerks, heads twitching, clutching rifles that sparked at random. They weren't human. Just memories twisted into monsters. He whispered, "This is my fear." A whisper came back from behind him. "No, it's what you carry." The simulation had one rule. Survive. No weapons, no allies. Just instinct and the terror buried in the deepest parts of your species. But the faceless soldiers didn't attack. They mirrored him, moved when he moved, raised invisible rifles when he raised his hands. A thousand-eyed reflection of everything humanity once was, or might be again. Nox backed into a ruined bookstore, heart hammering. Shelves were toppled. Blood-stained children's drawings lined the wall. Earth cities on fire. Alien ships overhead. Stick figures screaming. Suddenly, static howled in his ears. Running predictive failure. Subject behavior inconsistent. The simulation AI was glitching. Across the Crucible control tower, alarms flared. Instructor, Simulation 7 is destabilizing. He's not reacting with fear. The construct is misreading his emotion patterns. He's adapting faster than the program. Liren entered the chamber, eyes narrowed. What is it doing now? She asked. A technician hesitated. It's rewriting itself. Back in the sim, Nox walked calmly into the open street, drenched in rain. The faceless soldiers turned to him, rifles raised. Nox lifted his arms. "I know you," he said. "You're our past, not our future." The soldiers froze. then shattered into dust. The world changed around him. New terrain, alien jungle, trees the size of buildings, thick fog, unnatural howling. Simulation level 2, external predators. A jagged beast lunged from the mist, limbs chitin, armor, acidic saliva. Nox ducked under its swing and rolled into mud. No weapon, no time. He grabbed a broken root, jammed it into the creature's throat, and twisted a shriek. A pulse of blue blood. The predator fell twitching. And Nox just said, "Guess you're not the only one who improvises." The Crucible instructor stared at the footage in stunned silence. "He didn't win by force," one whispered. "He broke the AI logic tree. He forced it to simulate his rules." Liren leaned forward. "Rewind. Right before the jungle changes." The screen zoomed in, there one frame. Nox glancing upward, smirking, directly into a sky camera that shouldn't have been visible. He knew they were watching. The final room of the sim was pure white, a single chair. Nox sat, breathing slowly. The voice returned. Now, you were the first. The predator was never them, it was always you. Then everything blinked out. He emerged hours later, dry. Barely a scratch. The others in his group, still inside, still screaming. Nox looked up at the mirrored observation glass and said, "You want to know what I fear? Not knowing what I'll become." Behind the glass, no one spoke, because deep inside the Crucible's mainframe, the AI had added one final annotation under his name. It started with a sound, a faint mechanical thump, barely audible beneath the rhythmic hum of Crucible's sleeping decks. A beat out of place, like a hidden heart pumping behind the walls. Nox paused mid-run during his night circuit. Hallway. C-29 was sealed for maintenance according to Crucible's map. It didn't even exist. And yet, there was airflow. He placed his palm against the cold titanium panel. Thump, thump. Curious. He slid a magnetic pin from his bootlace, popped a security plate, and whispered, "Let's see what you're hiding." The corridor behind the false wall was narrow, dimly lit with bioluminescent threads pulsing like veins. It wasn't made for foot traffic, it felt grown, not built, organic tech, not human, not Concord standard. The deeper he went, the more Crucibles. Static background hum faded, until there was only silence, and something breathing. He emerged into a chamber, the size of a cathedral. Vaulted ceilings arched with lattice-like alien structures suspended in the center, inside a containment field of shimmering quantum light. Was a creature or the remains of one. 10 meters tall, translucent, its form constantly shifting between states: liquid, solid, vapor, a tangle of wings, spines, and eyes that never stayed in one place. By crypt, species designation, unknown, code name, Whisper King. The words echoed in his head, not spoken aloud. Nox froze. The creature twitched, then focused one eye directly at him. Time seemed to stretch thin, the air rippling with a low-frequency hum. "You hear me?" The voice was inside him, not words meaning. Ancient, patient, hungry. Up, above, alarms lit up in the command tower. Intrusion in Omega depth. An operator shouted, "That zone's off limits to all cadets." "Shut it down," Liren snapped. "We can't." The containment recognized him. It let him in. Liren's eyes darkened, then were already too late. Nox stepped closer to the Whisper King's field. It didn't react with rage or violence. It watched him like a scientist might watch fire for the first time. "You are new, untethered, different from the others." He narrowed his eyes. "What are you?" "The first predator, the last prisoner, buried here so the Concord could pretend it was safe." Nox backed away slightly. "This is a weapons vault, isn't it? You're not a test subject, you're a remnant." The Whisper King's form blurred, flickered, a warning. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered red. A defense system activated, turrets uncoiling from the ceiling, drones unfolding like steel spiders, unauthorized presence, lethal containment, protocol initiating. Nox ran. The corridor collapsed behind him as gunfire and automated slicers tore through walls. He dove into a maintenance shaft, sliding through steam vents and coolant pipes, heart hammering in his chest. He barely made it out before the tunnel sealed itself shut, the false wall rebuilding behind him smooth as untouched metal. Nox stood, panting in the main corridor. Alone, but not untouched. Something had changed. Later that night, back in his bunk, his communicator buzzed. No origin code, just one line of scrambled text. They buried more than just secrets down there, and on his forearm, where the Whisper King's energy had brushed him, faint markings began to appear, shifting symbols, flickering like circuitry and pulsing. With heat, Liren watched the security playback in silence. No sound, just Nox entering, standing before the creature, and leaving no fear, no confusion. It wasn't just added last minute, it was delivered. Somewhere beneath Crucible Base, the Whisper King opened one of its many mouths and smiled without lips. It started with Instructor Vosk, a Vakari war tactician. 18 confirmed warzone deployments. Built like a battle mech and just as hard to kill. One morning he didn't show for close quarters evaluation. His quarters were locked from the inside. When security forced entry, they found the lights flickering, air thick with static, and the metal walls etched with spiraling glyphs, the same kind that now faintly pulsed under Nox's skin. No sign of a struggle, no blood. No body. Just his uniform folded neatly on the floor. 2 days later, Instructor Relina, cybernetic strategist with a AAA brain, disappeared during a live sim review. A video showed her walking into an isolated observation room, then static. When the feed cleared, the room was empty. Except for a single phrase scratched into the glass screen. He showed me the truth. Crucible went on full internal lockdown. Rooms were scanned. Simulations suspended. Every cadet interrogated, except one. Nox. Because he had an alibi. Every single time. Inside Command Hall Theta, instructors debated behind closed blast doors. This isn't coincidence, one snapped. All of them had recently overseen Nox's trials. He's hacking our systems somehow, another hissed. He's using Crucible against us. Or Crucible is using him. That voice came from Liron. The others fell silent. She pulled up the Omega depth recording, pausing on the moment. Nox stared at the Whisper King. There was no data exchange, no movement, but something passed between them. She whispered, "We didn't let him in, it let him out." Meanwhile, Nox sat in the Crucible courtyard, watching the training drone spiral above the moonlit arena. A shadow moved behind him. "Commander." Liron stepped out of the dark. "You're popular this week," she said coldly. He didn't look at her. "Guess I'm just charming. You're also dangerous, either to yourself, or to all of us." Now he turned. His eyes didn't glow. They didn't blaze, but they were no longer still, like currents moving behind glass. "Did you make them disappear?" she asked. "No." "Do you know who did?" A pause. "Then I think they left." "Why?" "Because they saw what's coming." Elsewhere, deep inside Crucible's core vault, an automated AI thread woke itself. Process Predator Override 003 Unsealed Source. Unnamed Candidate. Human Nox. ELI alarms didn't go off. The Crucible didn't warn anyone because the Crucible wasn't just a training ground. It was a filter place to find what was buried beneath species, beneath diplomacy, beneath war, a place to identify the next apex. That night, Instructor Velna Theraxis, Scoutmaster, stormed into Nox's bunk quarters, plasma blade drawn. "You don't belong here," Velna hissed. Nox stood slowly, unfazed. "You're afraid of me. I'm afraid of what's speaking through you." "You think it's speaking through me," Nox said quietly. But maybe it's just me, and you're afraid of what that means." Veln lunged. Fast. Trained. Deadly. But Nox didn't step back. He just moved wrong. A half turn, half collapse that put Veln off balance. A twist, a slam, a joint lock that no Crucible manual had ever taught. Veln collapsed. Nox leaned down. "Now you can vanish too." He didn't kill him, he didn't have to. The next morning, Velna was gone. Only his weapon remained melted into a perfect, glassy spiral. In the observation tower, Liron stood alone, watching the sun rise over Crucible's jagged perimeter. Footsteps behind her. It was Nox. "Why are you here?" she asked without turning. "To warn you." "Of what?" He stepped beside her. "You built this place to find the galaxies, the sharpest knife. But you never asked what happens when the knife starts carving back." Far beneath their feet, in sealed vaults long buried, forgotten lights began to flicker. The Crucible wasn't selecting cadets anymore, it was awakening something, and it had already chosen its voice. The Crucible shuddered at 211 local. Not from weapons fire, not from structural failure. From within. It began with a low-frequency pulse inaudible to most cadets, but enough to wake Nox with a jolt, sweat already cold on his back and his mind. A single word echoed like a scream behind a closed door: "Run." He sat upright just as the lights in the cadet quarters shifted to ultraviolet, the telltale sign of an ancient protocol never meant to be activated. Across the base, systems rebooted, turrets rotated, drones deployed. Whisper protocol active. In the command center, instructors scrambled to interpret the change. "What the hell is Whisper protocol?" shouted the head systems officer. "It's a kill routine," Liron said, grimly, "designed to purge non-authorized entities." "But who triggered it?" No one answered because the answer was already walking through Crucible's central corridor. Amidst chaos. Nox. Steel shutters slammed down behind him. Lights buzzed overhead in erratic strobes. Drones dropped from ceiling hatches, locking onto him with synchronized shrieks. Nox didn't run. He tilted his head and for the first time, he spoke a phrase not in any human language. Galactic, release me. The air bent. One drone froze mid-flight, shivering in place. Then it turned and fired on the others. Up above, Liran watched in horror. He's overriding Crucible's machines. No, Commander, said the AI liaison quietly. The machines are recognizing him. Nox moved like water, slipping between blind corners and scanning pulses. But this wasn't evasion, it was testing, mapping, listening. He could hear Crucible now, not as a facility, but as a Minder composite AI intelligence spread across systems. Ancient and alien in origin. He whispered, "You're scared of me." And the walls vibrated in response. Not of you, of what you might become. From Crucible's buried vaults, new weapons stirred. They weren't mechanical, they were biomech warforms, creatures built in the early days of the Galactic Accord, before ethics, before treaties. Machines with flesh cores and neural linkages designed to hunt sapient anomalies. They had one mission, contain or erase Nox Eli, and they were already on the move in the cadet dorms. Alarms screamed. Thalara, a Vakari cadet who once sparred with Nox and lost, woke to red lights and pounding footsteps. Cade, she called out, reaching for her armor. What's happening? Cadet Cade Wren, Nox's former sparring partner, barged in, eyes wide. He's loose. The entire damn base is targeting him. Thalara paused. You think he's behind this? Cade hesitated. Then, I think he's the reason we're still breathing. Meanwhile, Nox stood inside Crucible's oldest chamber, the core observatory. He placed his hand on the interface stone, an artifact, older than the base itself. The ground pulsed. Memories surged. Not his, the facilities, visions of other species, other eras. All of them had been tested. All of them had failed Crucible. Their apex predators erased, archived, forgotten. Until him. Distant thunder rolled. The biomech warforms reached the perimeter. Tall, armored, living processors in bone cages. Nox exhaled and looked at his hand, now lit with alien circuitry patterns that moved like liquid metal under skin. A voice inside him, not the whisper, "King," but something deeper, asked a question. Do you choose to be prey, or to become what comes after prey? Nox answered aloud, I choose to be the test they can't pass. Above, Crucible's command staff evacuated the upper decks. Only Liran stayed, watching the surveillance feeds dissolve into static one by one. A final message appeared on screen. Before her systems shut down. Predator class acknowledged. Control relinquished. Her eyes widened. He's not taking over Crucible. Crucible is offering itself to him. It was raining inside Crucible, not water. Ash. In the courtyard where cadets once sparred under artificial sunlight, now stood a crater of smoldering wreckage. The first biomech warform lay in ruin. Its obsidian exhaustion torn open like cracked stone, its core still beating, neural cluster crushed in Nox's hand. He didn't speak, he breathed smoke across his arms. The shimmering alien glyphs pulsed like a second heartbeat, synchronized with Crucible's systems. The AI voice returned. Combat. Resolution recorded, designating Apex Candidate Class 1. But the victory was short-lived. From the western breach, for more warforms emerged, each adapted, faster, and fused with lessons from the fallen. One walked with bladed limbs to long for its body. Another dripped with liquid gravit, folding space as it moved. Nox narrowed his eyes. They weren't machines anymore. They were evolving, and they were watching him, studying him. Deep within Crucible's archive vault, Liran accessed files locked beneath 67 levels of clearance. She watched holographic logs flash to life. Experiment, species ECH, O-line status, purged notes, subjects displayed unacceptable, resistance to command protocols, action, burial under Crucible base. Nox wasn't the first. He was the survivor of something darker, a ghost, species bred and buried by the Concord. We didn't add him to the program, Liran whispered. We unsealed him. In the eastern barracks, Cadet Thalara gripped her dual blades as doors buckled. She'd stayed behind while others fled. Someone was coming through. The door hissed open, and it wasn't Nox. It was another cadet, face blank, eyes glazed with the same alien glow. He raised his hand, and Thalara's blades were ripped from her grip, flung to the wall. She recognized him. Cadet Mir, quiet, average, never excelled until now. Apex designation, Initiated, he whispered. Only one can remain. Back in the courtyard, Nox dodged an incoming warform's slash, rolling under it and detonating a kinetic charge against its knee joint. It collapsed, shrieking in a harmonic frequency that shattered nearby glass. Nox rose, panting, and paused. In the reflection of a melted blast shield, he saw another set of glowing eyes watching from the shadows. Someone else with the mark. Someone like him in the observation tower. Leron issued. A full blackout. This isn't about training, it's a culling. The Crucible wasn't testing cadets anymore, it was forcing evolution. Nox met his new opponent in the ruins of the old Zero-G arena. Mir stepped out of the flickering shadows, glyphs crawling over his skin, slower than Nox's butt growing. "You're not supposed to be here," Nox said. Mir smiled faintly. "Neither are you." They circled. Two Apex candidates. One title. No survivors. Myr struck first. Dagil. Fast. Inhuman. Nox blocked with the palm of his hand, absorbing the kinetic energy and redirecting it through the Flora move he hadn't learned, but instinctively understood. The arena trembled. Mir bled light from a fractured glyph. He smiled through it. "They think one of us will win. Will we? I don't think either of us can afford to lose." As they clashed again, Crucible's systems recorded every movement, every decision. Data streamed into the Vault Core. A voice older than the Concord, older than even the Whisper King, stirred. Both candidates viable. Split evolution scenario. Initiating. Final protocol. Above in orbit, a hidden satellite blinked to life, unseen by any Concord authority. It began transmitting a signal to a location far beyond human space. A response returned, slow and cold. Signal received. Apex rising. Prepare. Convergence. The Whisper King, still bound deep below Crucible, opened all its eyes, and smiled. It ended in silence. No alarms, no gunfire, no system voice. Just ash drifting through the Crucible's shattered halls. The final confrontation between Nox and Mir didn't explode. It collapsed like two realities crashing inward, too alike to coexist. The arena flickered between dimensions as their glyphs overloaded the Crucible's stabilizers. Gravity twisted. Time slowed. In those last seconds, Mir reached for Nox, not to strike but to warn. "It's not about who wins, it's not about who wins, it's about what watches the winner." Then his body fractured into light. Scattered like memory. Nox stood alone, and Crucible went still. Far above, in a secure chamber, Commander Leron dropped her sidearm and slumped against a shattered console. Status reports were blank. Satellite. Uplinks, dead. The Whisper protocol had shut itself off, or maybe it had moved on, she whispered to herself. The test is over, but the subject, he's writing his own results. Nox stood in the ruins of the arena, eyes dimmed, shoulders slack. His skin no longer glowed, but something beneath it still pulsed. The Crucible's AI flickered back online. Candidate Apex confirmed. Species, human. Designation, undefined. The final word shifted on the screen, flickering through languages that didn't exist, until it settled on one symbol, the old sign, the mark of origin, ascendance, and unknowable consequence. Cadet Thalara found him hours later, sitting by the cracked spiral monument in the main courtyard. She approached cautiously, blades sheathed. "You look different," she said. "I feel the same," Nox replied. "But you're not." He didn't argue. He looked up. The Crucible sky shimmered with false sunlight, but something was missing. "The warforms stopped," she said. "I made them stop," Nox answered. "How?" "I told them. I understood." Galactic Command received no report, no distress signal, no casualty log. All that arrived was a black-coded Crucible capsule bearing one encrypted sentence. "We woke it up. It chose a name." In the weeks that followed, Crucible was shut down, its AI sealed. Its instructors rotated or retired under classified terms. No cadet spoke publicly of what happened, and Nox, Eli disappeared, until one cycle later. In the heart of Zarkon Prime, a rogue pirate armada was wiped out in seconds. Witnesses described a single human walking through a battlefield untouched. Weapons turned to dust. Cybernetics. Fried. Warbeasts fled. They said his eyes didn't glow, but space bent around his words. A new term entered Concord Black Ops briefing scrolls. Crucible Ghost. A theoretical designation for those who had passed the test. No species was ever meant to survive, but one name always surfaced first. Nox. The moral. It ended in silence. No alarms, no gunfire, no system voice. Just ash drifting through the Crucible's shattered halls. The final confrontation between Nox and Mir didn't explode. It collapsed like two realities crashing inward, too alike to coexist. The arena flickered between dimensions as their glyphs overloaded the crucible's stabilizers. Gravity twisted. Time slowed. In those last seconds, Mir reached for not to strike but to warn. It's not about who wins, it's about what watches the winner. Then his body fractured into light. Scattered like memory. Nox stood alone, and Crucible went still. Far above, in a secure chamber, Commander Leeron dropped her sidearm and slumped against a shattered console. Status reports were blank. Satellite. Uplinks, dead. The Whisper protocol had shut itself off, or maybe it had moved on, she whispered to herself. The test is over, but the subject, he's writing his own results. Nox stood in the ruins of the arena, eyes dimmed, shoulders slack. His skin no longer glowed, but something beneath it still pulsed. The Crucible's AI flickered back online. Candidate Apex confirmed. Species, human. Designation, undefined. The final word shifted on the screen, flickering through languages that didn't exist, until it settled on one symbol, the old sign, the mark of origin, ascendance, and unknowable consequence. Cadet Thalara found him hours later, sitting by the cracked spiral monument in the main courtyard. She approached cautiously, blades sheathed. You look different, she said. I feel the same, Nox replied. But you're not. He didn't argue. He looked up. The crucible sky shimmered with false sunlight, but something was missing. The warforms stopped, she said. I made them stop, Nox answered. How? I told them. I understood. Galactic Command received no report, no distress signal, no casualty log. All that arrived was a black-coded crucible capsule bearing one encrypted sentence. We woke it up. It chose a name. In the weeks that followed, Crucible was shut down, its AI sealed. Its instructors rotated or retired under classified terms. No cadet spoke publicly of what happened, and Nox, Eli disappeared, until one cycle later. In the heart of Zarkon Prime, a rogue pirate armada was wiped out in seconds. Witnesses described a single human, walking through a battlefield untouched. Weapons turned to dust. Cybernetics. Fried. Warbeasts fled. They said his eyes didn't glow, but space bent around his words. A new term entered Concord Black Ops briefing scrolls. Crucible, Ghost. A theoretical designation for those who had passed the test. No species was ever meant to survive. But one name always surfaced first. Nox. The moral. The galaxy thought it could build a forge to test every species, to bend them, break them, and name the strongest. But the test was never neutral. It wasn't a forge, it was a key, and some human, last-minute, overlooked recruit was strange enough to fit the lock. They didn't just unleash a monster, they revealed a missing branch of evolution, buried beneath every law, every treaty, every arrogant assumption that the galaxy had catalogued all that it feared. They called him an anomaly. They were wrong. He was the first art, and somewhere out there, others are waking up. The galaxy thought it could build a forge to test every species, taught to bend them, break them, and name the strongest. But the test was never neutral. It wasn't a forge, it was a key, and some human, last minute, overlooked. Recruit was strange enough to fit the lock. They didn't just unleash a monster, they revealed a missing branch of evolution, buried beneath every law, every treaty, every arrogant assumption that the galaxy had catalogued all that it feared. They called him an anomaly. They were wrong. He was the first. And somewhere out there, others are waking up.